This video is going to show you a solo Grandmaster Nightfall and a Warlock for Lake of Shadows. For those that just want to see the run, then skip the timestamps you have available to you. Other than that, I can show you the weapons I use, the build, and all that stuff. So with Lake of Shadows, the Grandmaster modifiers are the same as any other Grandmaster apart from the two end modifiers. And obviously the champions. So there's Unstoppable and Overload in this one. Epitaph, Take and Combat Generate, this boop mechanic you'll see in the run. And then Grasp Bile, incoming environmental damage is increased, knockback damage and distance is increased. I'll talk about it in run, but that's what's on. Just note, there's no burn. So it's not incoming solar, incoming void, incoming arc, incoming stasis. There's none of that on. So just know that. So, what I opted for is to go Dawnblade, Attunement of Flame with Solar Grenade and Healing Rift. If you want to use Void Walker, you can use it. If you want to use Chaos Reach, you can use it. If you want to use Shadebinder setup, you can use it. Whatever you want to use. I just found this subclass to be really fun for this because a lot of solar shields and things. We paired that with the exotic helmet Dawn Chorus, which significantly improves the super. Anytime you're using Bottom Tree Dawn, have this exotic helmet on. My armor mods are pretty basic. It's a Protective Light based build, so Protective Light on the gauntlets, Take and Charge on the chestplate, Shield Break Charge on the boots. It just means every time we break a shield or pick up an orb, we get a Protective Light stack on our character. So if we do get one shot or something, that will kick in. The resistance will kick in. So it's a Protective Light setup. Everything else on the armor was just ammo finders on the helmet, scavengers on the boots, particle deconstruction on the cloak with a bomber. So when we pop our healing rift, we get great energy. Really nice on this class. And then lastly, I'll talk about resistance. So you can do what you want to do. Okay, you can go double concussive, like that, or you can do what I done, solar resistance concussive dampener, or you could do arc damage resistance concussive dampener. So those are your options. I wouldn't use void. There's not a lot of void in this. The knights do void, some of them, but they mainly do solar. So I would just, as I say, go solar or arc. It's up to yourself. Arc's beneficial because of scions. So if scions are giving you problems, go arc. If knights are giving you problems, go solar. Those are your options for resistance. Just pick one. I went with solar. And then weapon wise, we got the exotic pulse rifle Outbreak perfected on with the arc bow, the bite arc bow, and then Corsair's Wrath. Now, I'm not saying this is the best setup in the world, but it's super consistent for ammo because it's double primary heavy. If you wanted to go something else, if you wanted to go No Time to Explain, you could. If you wanted to use a Witherhoard strat, you could do that. There's all sorts of things you can do, but this strat actually works out really good. If you have Vexmitha class, do that. If you don't have Corsair's Wrath, but you have Tarantula, what you can do is go Tarantula, your solar bow. You just need to have a good solar bow. If you're going to invest the time in having a Tyranny of Heaven, you need explosive payload. If you haven't got it, I recommend you don't use it. Do not use if you don't have explosive. That's why I went the loadout I did with an arc bow and then a solar linear. That was my setup. Going with the run straight away, we'll summon our Sparrow to the starting section of the strike. Just be careful, because even though you're in a public zone, all the enemies swords and can kill you in this area, and they can blow up your Sparrow and your run does things like that. But it's not too much of a problem because the start of the strike's not far away. With this starting section, you're going to get obviously the 3 Blights and a bunch of Unstoppables and even Overloads. Now I'm going to show you how to optimize this area, which I've been doing it now for 6 months to a year of optimizing the Blights, so you get less champions, but this is Platinum run. It's not RNG like Corrupted or something like that. It's every time. But with this starting section, what you want to do is focus. You definitely want to try and take out the Phalanxes as soon as you can. But I was just wanting to optimize a couple of nades on the Scions, because I know the nade, the Dawnblade, is absolutely OP on trash mob ads, because it sort of spreads out like sort of like Sunshot, it sort of spreads to all the other enemies and does additional damage and just explodes on each other. Really good. Once you took out the arc phalanxes, the two of them, you then want to take out the unstoppable. Obviously the sounds as well, but take out the unstoppable from this location. You can see. But what I'm doing is I'm baiting the champion to me. Because as you can see, there's a couple of sounds still left. There's a red bar phalanx in the Blight. The worst thing you can do is be stunning that champ in the Blight. Unless you're doing like a speed run with a team or something, you're not going to want to be in the Blight because you take a lot of damage. But you can actually come a long way with this unstoppable. If you can see, there's a street. You can keep going up that street to my left, like behind me, sorry. You can see I can just keep stunning him from a distance with Outbreak, not needing to use any heavy, and I can get him killed in, I think it's 3 stuns. 3 to 4 stuns, just take him out. So it's, like I said, you can take him out heavy free, you don't have to use heavy. Pretty simple with Outbreak, as I say. It's a good choice if you haven't got Vex. If you haven't got Vex Smith class, which is probably the best primary in the game now. If you haven't got that, well then this is a good sort of substitute because it's really good on unstoppables and things. Now we're going to deal with the phalanx. On this location here, you can sort of just about get away with taking the phalanx. He won't want to push you, but eventually he'll push, just nade, whatever you need to do. And then just take out all the sounds. You'll find the sounds have been nerfed. Since we last done Lake of Shadows, sounds duplicated like crazy. There's a lot of changes since then. The sounds have been nerfed, knights have been nerfed, and I'll go into exactly what's happened. Because you'll notice it once you start playing it. Now you notice I'm not taking any of the Blights. So this is what I was on about before, about optimizing the run. This is quicker doing it like this. Okay? If you shoot the Blight, the first Blight, the one behind me, you will spawn in, I believe, 3 overloads. Is it 3 or 2? It might be 2 or 3. I think it's 2 overloads. 2 overloads and a bunch of adds. And solar captains. And so much more. Goblins. Oh man, everything. You can stop that and make it so simple. All you need to do is kill the unstoppables. So the idea of this strat is, you do it back to front. The unstoppables have already spawned in because the unstoppables were made before Lake of Shadows was made. So a lot of these champions are sort of already spawned in. It's not meant to be like this, yeah, but it is. So we can just take our time with these unstoppables. As you can see here, I can take them from a distance, and I've also singled him out from the other champion because there's 2 unstoppables. It's great if you can single them out. It's much better. It's a little bit dangerous if you start trying to fight both. You know, you maybe get caught off guard because you can get hit hard. Obviously, it is Grandmaster, so that can happen. We use a bit of heavy here. Use our nade. We've got a super. We're going to use that on one of the champs. I would recommend doing that. You may as well just use it. Put it there, and then you can get another cooldown. There's only what I would call pinnacle moments where you should use a super. Right, where it's actually beneficial, right? You must use a super to really make this section easier. As a section. But there's times when you really don't need to use any super or do anything. You're just sitting there idle. So when you're sitting there idle and you're doing an encounter that's not that hard, use your super. Get another cooldown. We'll use a super here. 2 more unstoppables. After this, we can then start taking the Blights. What you want to do though, as I said, with these unstoppables is be careful when 2 of them are approaching you. You can see there's all this space that no one uses in Lake of Shadows because generally you don't need to in team. But you can see just behind me there's a lot of space, so you could just keep backing up, stopping them, backing up. Just with your Outbreak. If you want to use a bit of heavy by all means do it. That's fine. Just don't spam too much though, because you do need your heavy in this. For me, my heavy plays a role for knights and solar shield mainly. That's its main place, and you know, some burst damage on champs. That's its only role. Outbreak's taken the main role for damage, and then the bow is sort of the thing for overloads. which we can continually overload champions, but you must have an explosive payload bow. You're gonna struggle. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't work. Actually, sorry, you're doing it. You can do it with a frenzy bow. If you have wolf tone draw, is it whatever it's called? If you have frenzy on that bow will consistently stun champions. It's a really good bow. If you've got that one, use it. That's fine. If you want to use Point of the Stag, which has a vorpal weapon on it, that's quite unique, then use that one. Whatever you want. There's a lot of options for arc bows, but not for solar. Unless you use Tigers, which I don't... I mean, Tigers would be a decent run. It wouldn't be too bad, to be honest. It'd be good at the boss fight and things like that. But as I say, ultimately I went with Outbreak, which is one of my favourite exotics as well, so... that was another reason why I chose it. So we'll just finish off the last unstoppable. The last unstoppable's retreated, for whatever reason. There's a phalanx in that blight. Take the phalanx out first. Because of the modifier, incoming incoming environmental damage is increased and the knockback damage is increased. It makes phalanxes dangerous if you get hit by them. If they boot you into wall, it can be a one-shot because of the modifier. Obviously, they're easily manipulated. You can just jump over the heads, things like that. It's just if you get hit, and also any of the taken walls. When we go inside of the place that we're going to be going soon, if you get hit by a taken wall, I can one-shot you. Okay? So that's the dangerous. I think that's classed as environmental damage. It probably is, because it's the environment doing damage to you, so that's probably causing the walls to one-shot. So you need to know the position of every wall, the radius of it, when you can jump over, when you can't, and the timing of them. When you know all that, you're fine. Now I'm taking out the blights, but it's important you take out the final blight, then the middle blight, and then the first blight. Do it in this order, and you'll get no adds. You'll only get adds at the very end of this section, which means, as I said, you haven't got any overloads to take. Obviously, I could have done the encounter legit, but we don't need to. You know, may as well just do the quicker run, the easier way. The easier way of doing it. Pick up any ammo you need before you leave, and then we can go to the next part. There'll be 2 overloads. These overloads you can't stop. They will always spawn in no matter what. There'll be 2 overload champions and 1 arc shield major with a bunch of sounds. I wouldn't recommend you, but if you're going at the similar pace to myself, you'll end up having a super. I wouldn't recommend using. It might be tempting to use a super here, but don't. It's not that useful to you. You're better off just dealing with the phalanx with your weapons, which isn't too bad. Just make sure any time a blight's coming towards you, if you're weak, half HP, whatever it might be, shoot the blight, shoot the orb, because if the orb hits you, you're almost going to die. At full health, they can nearly kill you. One of these orbs. So, strafe right and left at this area here. So the overloads can't snipe you, but you can attack the phalanx, the arc shield, really easy. Dealing with round corners like this makes it, as I say, easy. Good damage with Outbreak, and then we're done. The protective light proccing, they resist ×4 on the left hand side of the screen, so I've lost charge of light. But that's fine, because there'll be times I'll lose it and I get it back. It's so easy to get back because of shield break charge, tons of shields, and also taking charge. You know, double kills on masterwork weapons. It's super clean, this setup, just to use it. I mean, if you haven't got protective light, I understand. You could still do it without protective light. You just have to be play a little slower. Always look at your HP as you're shooting enemies. I know that sounds silly, but really look at everything on your screen, not just look at what you're actually doing. Keep an eye. Every time you get hit, what did your HP go to? Is it 50%? Is it 70%? Are your shields nearly broke? Right, retreat. Wait for your recovery. Things like that. If you do that, then you won't go wrong, and you shouldn't really be even having your shields break. If you play it perfect, you would barely get hit in it. Obviously, you know, not everyone plays perfect. I don't play perfect myself, so that's why we use builds like Effective Light, etc. We took these 2 overloads just with the bow. You saw I could just continually overloading them. I didn't use any heavy because the fact that I only had an ammo finder brick on the floor, which was only +2. So I basically have full ammo. I didn't want to use any ammo on them really. Didn't need to. I'd rather keep going into the next encounter with as much heavy as possible. We use a nade on these thrall on the top stairs. We're then going to try to get this captain, this solar captain. So what I've noticed with these solar captains is they're taking wall thing, whatever the attack they do, it won't go through stairs, these stairs here. Which is why I'm trying to lure this captain over. You can see it's just hitting the edge of them stairs and not hitting me. So always stay up here to take the captain. Don't go on to the same level of the captain. You can guarantee he's going to teleport behind you and then kill you with his shield, with his taken ability. Take him from the top. You've got a higher ground, so to do it, just play from there. Then you got to take him thrall here. Just be careful because 2 melees off a thrall will get you 1 shot almost. Not like blackout, but it's just because it's Grandmaster difficulty. So just be careful. It's dead easy just to go to thrall and say, "Oh, I can easily kill them." It's easy to forget they are GM ads. Outbreak doesn't do well because they just seem to teleport a lot. You're best off just using bow on these enemies. For some reason they teleport on sustained fire, but if it's just a 1-shot bow they don't. Kinda weird. Okay, so this is the part where you want to use a super. So I start with a solar nade at the bottom of the stairs. Like that'll take out most of the thrall and things, and then you can use a super to finish off the rest. There's 2 solar captains, 1 orange bar, 1 ultra. It's just a good use of using a super, because you don't really need to use a super on champs. You only use it if you've got nothing else to do with your super. But right there we had an annoying part of the fight, like I said, where you get 2 full captains just keep blinding you and things. Dealing with them just with a solar super, it just makes that part really easy. But this bit people may find difficult because if it's a small corridor, the phalanx can boop you into the wall and 1-shot you. So don't let them boop you in that corridor. If they boop you like in this area here, that's fine. You won't die off that, especially if you've got concussive dampener and what have you. But what you can do is you can actually fight the champions from here and you can single them out. 2 unstoppables are dangerous, 1 isn't. So if you can get 1, if you can bait 1 into this room, it's great. Look at how easy it is. One interesting thing to me is that last time I was sort of playing Lake Shadows, these unstoppables wouldn't come up these stairs. Bungie's actually programmed these champions to chase after you up here. So they've actually improved the AI of these champions. They've done a lot of things that they don't tell you. And I'm not surprised. I'm a bit confused why they don't mention that in TWABs. Like they'll talk about, oh, we've done this, we've done that, but they do good things and they don't even mention it. They don't blink an eye and say, oh well, we've actually improved the AI of these champions in this strike or that strike. I mean, they've done it recently. I think they're doing it today. Sorry, the other day at reset they changed the champion mechanic on corrupted. But as I say, there's been a whole host of changes. Knights, their solar attack that they do on you is the radius of it is significantly nerfed compared to what the knights used to do. Solar knights used to be extremely powerful in this game. Now, if you look at the floor when they do their solar move, it literally has a radius of like 1 or 2 meters. It used to spread all around. It doesn't do that anymore. So they've nerfed the knights, they've nerfed scions, the duplication of them. They do duplicate still, don't get me wrong, but not to the extent of what they used to. So they've done that. They've also, I know it's not off topic, but it kind of is on the bridge encounter. But at the boss fight, if you actually do the boss fight legit, the boss will forget where you are. If you invis, he'll just keep shooting, just like last week with the Scorn Hallowed Lair boss, where he just shoots the opposite way. They've nerfed bosses. It seems to me they've nerfed a lot of the strike bosses, and I think they've done that in order to balance the Grandmaster difficulty, because they recognise some certain fights as a GM mode and strikes don't work. Like, they end up being a little bit too difficult, which tends people to be using Night Stalker invis or leaning to builds that probably shouldn't be a build in the first place, but is one since they allow it. So it's kind of weird. A lot of bosses, they've been nerfed, like I say, but you won't find that on this one, because as I say, I'll be doing that. I'll be doing the boss fight with a new trick that people have discovered. With this bridge encounter, as you can see, I'm just taking everything from distance. We'll take out the overlords first, and snipers. The scions down below where I am, but I'll take them out the last. We'll use a solar nade for them, because the scions will duplicate. But as I said, a solar nade's so powerful. It's almost like as powerful as the Controverse hold on Voidwalker, just that you get more grenade energy on that setup though. But anytime you sort of want to fight scions, save your nade for it. But we're just making sure that we get all snipers. The snipers have changed as well. The last time I remember doing this, scions used to put up bubbles all the time. They don't do that anymore. That's strange, because they were always putting a bubble up. Like, every time you'd hit them, put a bubble up. Every time you hit them. They're not doing that anymore, so they've nerfed the snipers. Let's look at this. They've nerfed the boss, they've nerfed the snipers, they've nerfed scions. They're sort of balancing the GMs, which I like, because they do know that people want to solo them and things, so I guess they're doing it for that. I do like it in a sense, but in other ways maybe not. I don't want strike bosses getting dumber as the game goes on. They shouldn't be getting dumber, and they're only balancing on that because of the amount of damage they do too. As I think they should just tone it down, and sort of have more of a D1 sort of thing with it, because they're wanting to go D1 fashion anyways. You know, we're getting Galahorn back, we've got Warlock back, we've got Vex back, we've got all these stuff. So they're just wanting D2 to be a superior D1. So we may as well just go back to sort of D1 style Nightfall in my eyes. Maybe keep the title Grandmaster, but I don't know, change it. I would prefer that. Take out the final sniper, and then we'll take out this overload on the bridge. And what we're going to do is take out the Solar Knight at the end, at the back, because there's two champions inside. So to the left of the overload that's on the bridge, there's an Unstoppable and Overload. They are awkward to fight if you fight them as they're intended to fight. But if you kill the Solar Knight at the back, you get rewarded by getting a good angle, because with these champions it's all about good angles. So you can see I'm taking this champion right now. I can see that he's sniping, right, the platform in front of me. He can't hit me, you know. So anytime you get, it's all about the angle. It's not what you do or how quick you are and things like that. You really don't need to be a fast player to play a Grandmaster. If anything, the slower you are, the better GM player you are, because of what the play style dictates for Grandmasters. I use a super for the Solar Knight, and then obviously with Phoenix Dive. If you get booped like I did, just use Phoenix Dive back on the map, and then this is what you get rewarded with. So if you do that optimization, that's what I would call a pinnacle moment, where, right, if I use a super here, I'll get rewarded because I can take out champions easy. Because you want to see the angle on the other side of the room, it's not good. I'll tell you what happens, the overload will just go left and right of the wall, if he goes left, you're screwed. You won't be able to stun him. You'll have to push the overload to get the stun. Whereas here, you won't have that. You won't have that trouble so much. It's just easy to take the overload and unstoppable from here. Guess we've got the overload. Now we can get the unstoppable. Pretty simple to deal with. Do a Helm rift here as well. Use a bit of Outbreak. Just decent damage, especially after maybe the second stun, because you've already got nanites attached to that champ. You sort of get rewarded on the second stun and get a little bit more damaging, as opposed to the first stun. Just the only thing is, sometimes these unstoppables will stun and then their crit spot, you can't really get it. I got super lucky there. I don't know why the unstoppables started melting. Just always be sort of more careful than what I am when checking your HP. It was finishable anyway, so we'll go for the finish. And also pay attention to all the ammo drops you've had, or what you've got left. See, I already know I've got a brick back there, a heavy ammo brick. This section is interesting. Try to kill. If you saw, I went through that hallway, done a solo nade where the champion was. Why did I do that? Well, because it stops the goblins. If you can kill the goblins, that's great, because what will happen is the goblins will make the champion immune, right? Which you don't want. Also, the champion pushed us, and this is great. This was it's basically baiting the champion to stay in this hallway. Now, this also removes the knight from the equation, because there's a knight on the bridge. He will spam you with solar, but he can't do it with you in the hallway. So this makes this encounter easy, whereas it can be difficult. The goblins shielded the champ and the knight's firing at you. The only answer is to retreat or use a super. And you don't want to be using a super right here, because you'll have more than likely just used it. So you're not going to have that as an option. Heavy's not going to save you, so you've got to really be careful in this section. But as I said, you can make your life a little easier by getting... As soon as you come here and you see those ads, try and get a nade on them or something. Just try and get as many of them down. We'll go through the entrance of the hallway. Don't stand in that entrance, because you'll get bombarded by the knight. You see the knight's doing void, and he's doing solar. I think that's another change with these knights. The knights used to just do solar. That's all they used to do, just solar flames. But they've changed now. They do void. And see the flames? You look at the flames on the floor, you will see the radius of them is far less than what it used to be. I noticed this season as soon as Corrupted came out. I always remember the knights in Corrupted were really bad, especially when you're in that room and they get chasing you. It's not so bad. Okay, so with this part can be tricky. I was wanting to try and take the solar shield from here, which there's a little scaffolding thing, whatever it is, this environment here. You can shoot through the holes of the environment, take down the knight shield. Now it's going to be tempting for you to use a super. If you want to use a super, you can do. Just you're going to have to wait on another cooldown, because there's a void shield coming up, and chances are you don't have void in your build. Unless you're using Sharebinder, you're okay, but if you don't, like me, you're on Dawnblade or maybe even Chaos Reach or something, you want to use a super on the wizard, because the wizard absolutely melts. They do solar. That's another reason why I've got solar resist on, because the wizard, literally in a second, like less than a second, if all the attacks hit you, you can die. But your goal here is to take out all the goblins. The goblins are obviously making everything immune. Get the goblins down, you're good. If the champion enrages, which I haven't really talked about, but if the overlords enrage, which that means they do this attack that's ongoing, just because keep bombarding you with this attack. They do that when you damage them when they're not overloaded, which is easily done when you're trying to nade a knight. Say you throw a solar nade on the knight, it's also going to do damage to the champ, and it's going to aggro the champion. If they enrage, you need to sort of back off and say, right, hide behind cover until they're finished, because they absolutely destroy you with that. I went back for heavy. I was hoping I would maybe get some drops in that room, but I didn't so much. So we went back for the break. It was only an ammo finder one. If it wasn't for ammo finder, I wouldn't get any heavy. I don't know why I'm not getting so much heavy in Lake. I haven't been getting much ammo drops in this one for some reason. Okay, so with this overload, depending on where you stand, depends on where the overload will go, because the overload can back up to the stairs and around that corner. You don't want that so much, but if it happens, it's not too bad. But generally, you just want to take the overload from here. You stand here and just strafe left to the cover that you see to your left, like so, and you're okay. The sniper won't one-shot you. You're okay with that. You don't need sniper resistance, you don't need void resistance or anything like that. We took down the overload. Now this section can be a little bit tough as well, because you'll have a solar knight, which goblin. The goblins will make solar knight immune, and there's not a lot of visibility to take the solar knight. Especially, I know the solar flames, as I said, they've been nerfed, but if you still stand in them, you do get wrecked. You've got to be careful on which way you peek. So for example, if you're fighting from the left side of this pillar, he's just going to keep bombarding you from the left. If you're fighting from the right, he's just going to keep hitting you from the right. So you want to sort of fight him from left to right, but the goblins from the other room, from the back room, will come and make him immune. The way around that is to wait. If you wait, the goblin should then retreat, and then you can then take down the knight's solar shield. You really do need to take down that knight, because if you don't, try and skip it, he'll more than likely kill you. While you try and deal with the wizard. Okay, so this is very important. It's small detail, but small details matter. If you go in that room and the wizard sees you while you're killing the ads, the wizard will attack you and be aggroed. The wizard will also summon Shadow Thrall. Shadow Thrall can melt. They're just like any scion. A melee or two, you can be dead. So the best way to do is don't enter that room until all the ads are dead. Okay? Then when that happens, take the route I did. Wait for the taken walls. Okay? Do a solar nade and then your super. You need a nade and a super really, because you can see I only had a little bit of super left, and then the wizard only just died. The nade helps because you get additional stacks. When you melee a target or do a solar grenade, you get more stacks on your daybreak super. I believe if you melee an enemy, so the best way to use this super, but it's hard to do it on GM at times, is melee an ad or a boss or a champ, then use your super. You'll get maximum stacks on Dawn Chorus. With the solar nade you don't get max stacks, but the melee you do for some reason. That's how it did work anyways. I'm assuming it still works the same way. Just it's a little dangerous to do that on the wizard. To sort of melee the wizard and then super, because by the time you've supered, the wizard could kill you. See, pop on your super, even too soon. Like, you might think, oh, it's too soon, pop too soon, but it isn't. Sometimes you pop super just for damage resistance, because you get an insane damage resistance buff when you are in a Roman super. So sometimes in GMs, because Roman supers aren't so useful at times. That's why you'll see people use Chaos Reach or Nova Bomb. This Roman super is really useful, by the way, but for the most situations, you're ever like in a dire situation, just super, because you'll get such a big damage resistance buff, and you'll get Protective Light proc maybe, and that'll stack with your super damage resistance. I don't know what the number on it is. I wouldn't have a clue, but I've always known super damage resistance to be sort of the highest resistance in the game for PvE, for damage resistance. Okay, so this section's a little bit difficult. There's 2 overloads. Now what's annoying to me is, if you see the stairs, there's a handrail. Because of how bows work, it can hit the handrail and not stun the champ. I was a little frightened taking this overload, as you can see by the way I'm playing. Generally I want him to the left of the wall, not right, because you can strafe him better. But he's on the right, so you just got to be sort of careful. Just be constantly strafing to avoid the shots. Because one shot will get you weak, and you definitely don't want to be followed up by another, because that'll be the end of the run. So I would suggest using heavy. You don't need much heavy right now, especially when you get to the boss fight. You don't need any. I would argue you don't need any heavy at all. That's why we've got Outbreak on. You don't need any heavy. I would maybe say, okay, maybe need 2 or 3 shots on the knight, because there's a solar knight. But even then you can use a grenade. This overload isn't too bad because you can strafe very easily, like so. Learning the timing of these overloads is key. Once you've got that, you'll find champions aren't the problem anymore. It's more knights and captains. You see, he hit us there, got us weak. Protective light procs. We've lost protective light, which that's fine because there's another solar shield to get protective light back. To be fair, we're not going to need much protective light anyways with the strat I'm going to show you, which is really good. I like it when strats come out like this. Some people say, oh, it's cheesy or what have you. It is, but I quite like it because it opens loadouts up. Yeah, this loadout would never wash on a legit boss fight run, right? Well, it would do. You could probably make it work, but it'd be difficult, like really difficult. But when something comes out like this, where you know it's very forgiving. You know, I sort of like to experiment with loadouts. It's happened to a couple of Nightfalls over the years. Get this knight finishable. Pick up any ammo, and then now we're going to explain. So we are going to fight the boss from the ceiling. The old strat isn't as good as this strat. This strat is way better. The old strat used to be on a little ledge. I'm sure you know which ledge I mean, right? That ledge is super difficult to fight from. I would argue that's probably harder than doing the boss legit, because you get hit by so much stuff. Yeah, you really need a healing rift build on and all sorts to get it going. So what I like to do is go to this rock, jump to this pillar, and we're going to go to the ceiling, to the roof, right? And then you want to come to the very edge of this ledge, and you want to mantle on here. Now I struggled on this run. I'd practice this on a lower difficulty, by the way, the jumps, to make sure I could get it. But essentially you will mantle on here. If you struggle like me, do a healing rift on the ledge. But there'll be no ads, just the boss. Right, once you get that mantle, then it's up and over. Because there is like there's an invisible wall above your head. If you hit that wall, you'll fall right to the floor. So that last jump needs to be sort of up and over. You might need to watch that jump 2 or 3 times, and you'll need to practice it as well, if you're not used to it. All classes should be able to make it, I would imagine. Titan easily, Hunter should be able to make it even without stompies. I haven't tried it, but I could probably say it will do. Okay, so this is where we do our fighting from. So you saw those join allies. If you stand on the actual roof, you will get join allies. A 5-second timer. If you come to this section here, the flat section, you can walk all the way around. You can't go right to the back though. There's a sort of invisible wall. You've got freedom of movement. If you jump high enough, you'll get join allies again. A 5-second timer. Try not to jump too much. Right? Don't hover in the air. If you use your super, just use your super while you're standing. Your super will track to the boss. You can see I've done a 3rd damage almost with 1 super. It's really good. Like I said, we're going to choose Outbreak from here. You see what this boss will do. It's interesting. He'll do his guard attack because he doesn't know what to do. Like, he doesn't know why you're up there, what you're doing. Like, we're not meant to be up here, so the boss will act weird. But because we've got unstoppable pulse rifle on, you can stop the boss from doing that. Hit his feet. You get the angle, hit his feet, he will stop guarding and you can get your crits. Use a solar nade for ads. You see all the ad clear. That's insane ad clear. You saw the ad clear there. All the arenas lighting up as well. This boss is like... May I remind you, like I say, this is Grandmaster difficulty. Outbreak's doing really good damage. For a primary, doing really good damage. And from range. So it'll be experiencing some range drop off there. And he's still, as I said, doing good damage. And I've got bomber, so I can pop a healing rift, keep getting grenade energy, so I can, you know, utilize a lot of grenades. If this fight took me any longer, I could use another super. I don't end up getting my super back, but I could have done, and then just use another super on him. But you'll find you don't need to kill any of the knights. The solar knights down below. For the most part, they won't bother you. Now, the interesting thing is you can tether you from up here. If he does a tether, that suppresses you, and it means you can't jump. So say, for example, you jump in the air and he tethers you, which he can do that. You will fall to the floor. Don't jump about, especially on the tether phase. Right? You're best off just standing still, using Outbreak, using your linear. Yeah, so the boss got immune on the last phase. When that happens, a nade will usually really help you out. Just throw it somewhere in the middle to the goblin that's causing you issues. Same again, insane ad clear from the nade. One reason why we're on this class. And that's literally dealt with all the ads, and there's a lot of ads that spawn on this. Just shows you. And we'll just finish him off with the Outbreak. So that was the run on it. As I say, this strat's foolproof. You can use so many different. You could use so many different weapons on this. You can use it on all three classes: Warlock, Titan, and Hunter. Any sort of loadout that you want, you can. But it's what I chose. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.